What is up, COD people? Hope you're all doing well. I need to apologize right away. I'm already behind on Call of Duty news as we slowly approach week 1 of Call of Duty League season number 1, and I cannot wait to show you guys all the news that breaks down every single day here, but I am behind, especially given the recent news of, maybe some leaked skins out there, some weird skunk promoted tweets. Alongside that, many other announcements happening, which I will break down here on this channel. But speaking of which, we are so lucky to have someone like CDL Intel, because no other scene really has an account like this who really pushes some great things, this being the preseason rankings brought to us by player and coach votes. What really matters, my opinion doesn't matter. Some of yours actually, of course, does matter, but others out there in the community, we just don't matter, right? When it comes down to actually ranking the best teams out there, we can only watch so many scrims. Who knows better than the coaches and the players themselves? So here are the rankings on screen. Surprise, surprise. FaZe landing number 1, followed shortly by, I would say, pretty closely by Dallas Empire, and then Chicago, and the list then goes on and on after those top 3, which presumably will maybe be our top 3 throughout this season based off what the players and coaches think. Now, when we first see this list as well, I'm going to link you guys a great podcast down below brought to us by Simp. I wanted to give you guys more perspective on the Atlanta dominance, which, by the way, has been clarified a little bit during those streaks, which we talked about just last week, brought to us by Nameless, a 50-plus streak, a 40-plus win streak, all in scrims by the Atlanta FaZe members. Well, it's actually been clarified by Simp. Yes, those streaks did happen, although they were about a week apart, and they actually were, they didn't actually face off against Dallas Empire. Clarified by Simp himself. That's why Clayster responded and said, I wonder why. So here's him saying that. Alongside that, Simp gives us his top 5 rankings and presumably a giant gap actually between those top 5 teams and the remainder of the field.
It's true. Like, who's your top 4 teams outside of the FaZe?
Like, basically, like top 5, basically?
Yeah, from scrims.
Like, Dallas, second.
In order?
Or, like...
let him just say the teams.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be Dallas, Chicago, probably Minnesota, I think.
Really?
I mean, I'm not sure. We haven't played them in a while. But
They put up a good fight against you guys?
Yeah, they keep maps close. And then probably... I don't even know. I feel like after the top 3, the rest of the teams are all just everywhere.
Really? Is there a huge gap from there?
I feel like there's a huge gap.
So you're saying Atlanta, FaZe, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, and Minnesota, and then a huge gap?
Like not 100% on Minnesota, but yeah, I think a lot, like at least after the top 5 teams, I feel like everyone is just everywhere.
What I tweeted, because I heard that from somebody on another team. Is that true? You guys went that like 52-0?
Not exactly. Like, yeah, we had those streaks, but there was like a week or so gap in between them. And I don't think we did play Dallas just because we played them in Minnesota. So we've been like not trying to play them
That's
much.
why Clay said, I wonder why.
And you hear that as well if you continue to watch the podcast. Again, a great episode. I'll link it down below for you guys. Pac-Man goes on to also give compliments to the Minnesota team, who I'm very curious how they're going to show up. I'm actually very surprised. Minnesota was a top 5 ranked team, not only by players, but also by coaches. Simp and Pac-Man in that individual podcast both give them their reassurances. On top of that, the biggest surprise has to be Optic being back in 8th in the rankings. Although Slasher always finds a way to win, I don't think we can really doubt this team too much based off rankings because of the sheer talent on the roster. We look towards the back half is where I get very worried as well. Teams did note, also brought to us by CDL Intel, they didn't know where to place the Legion and Guerrillas because they either hadn't scrimmed them in several weeks or hadn't scrimmed them at all. So definitely a worrying sign if you are an owner out there, you invest into a team and then you find out via a tweet that your teams just aren't scrimming or haven't scrimmed several teams in several weeks. If I was a guy who just paid $25 million, I might be a bit worried, and especially when it comes time for a Paris team where I was excited to see some personalities really take off, and coming almost in the definitely bottom half of rankings does not present a good look out there, especially if you're paying good money for them. And then very last, when I look towards an ultra 10-man team, that's where I was kind of upset. I'm very curious how this team will do, especially if they actually decide to specialize 45-man rosters for game modes. I'm very curious if they can actually jump these rankings. But all with that being said, there's no surprise with our top 3, right? We all knew Atlanta FaZe alongside Dallas Empire, Chicago Huntsmen would likely be our top 3. I would say the Minnesota being up there, New York being up there. Maybe New York not a huge surprise, but Minnesota certainly. Optic being back in 8th is a big shock there. We'll see how they perform. These rankings will shift. They will certainly shake up. Week 1 will tell us a lot. And let's be honest, besides scrims, we know nothing of how these teams will play on an actual LAN setting. These will certainly shift. What do you guys think about that? Even if you want to, give me your personal rankings in the comments down below. Very lastly, as I slowly catch up on Call of Duty news, who expected better than this? Maven and Joe are also back, the head casters for this Call of Duty League season, which, I mean, no complaints, guys, no arguments. We were waiting for it to be announced as well. Two of the very, very best out there, and I'm very proud of them to actually be those head casters. I cannot wait for the rest of the talent to slowly be announced, as we are now just days away. Until next time, hope you guys all enjoy breaking down esports gaming news here in Call of Duty news, trying to do so every single day. As always, my DMs are open. If I missed a story, feel free to hit me up. Until then, take care, drink your coffee, videos all day long, because I'm trapped here. I'm trapped here.